Welcome to season 4 of the Charity Matters podcast. I'm Heidi Johnson, lifelong helper, nonprofit founder, and your host. I've been interviewing the helpers for a decade with my blog, and I'm so grateful to now be sharing these inspiring conversations on our podcast. Join me as we learn the challenges and stories of innovators, entrepreneurs, and modern day heroes who set out to solve the problems of humanity. Today, our guest is Maggie Kane from A Place at the Table, an incredible nonprofit organization that brings the combination of community and good food together, regardless of means. Maggie is a ray of sunshine, and you're not going to want to miss this inspiring conversation. But I have to confess, in 46 episodes, this is the first time we've had a little bit of sound technical difficulty on my end. So please listen today and join us for Maggie's inspiring words. And apologies that it might be a little rough on my side, but Maggie's bright sunshine will come through loud and clear. I'm so excited today to have our guest, Maggie Kane, founder of A Place at the Table, join us to learn about her incredible story. So welcome, Maggie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I am so thrilled to be here and thrilled to talk about table and you're just wonderful. I'm really pumped to be here.
Well, we're so excited, and I love having a little savor. I have you're based in Raleigh, and I have family in Raleigh, Durham, and so it makes me makes me feel a little nostalgic about that. But before we get started, tell us a little bit about what A Place at the Table does, what it is, because it's a place.
Yes, absolutely. And it's the best place. And I may be biased a little bit, but I really just feel so fortunate to work there every day. So A Place at the Table is in Raleigh, and so I love that you have family there. I grew up in Raleigh, so I am also biased to how great Raleigh is. But we are in downtown, so right in the middle of lots of different things going on, and we are a pay what you can restaurant. So let that sink in for a minute. There's not many of us around the country, but we are a pay what you can restaurant. And what that means is we look and feel like any other restaurant or cafe that you might go to every single day with your friends, with your family, by yourself. But what makes us different is it's pay what you can. And all of our prices are suggested. So you can choose to pay the suggested price. You can choose to pay more and pay it forward for someone else who can't afford their meal. You can pay less because we know some weeks are harder than others, and all you can do and afford is less. Or you can pay by volunteering with us. When you walk in, you feel like you're in that regular restaurant I was talking about. You would not know that anything's different until you get up to the register. You're smelling cool, good food and bacon and cinnamon rolls and things like that.
Yum.
Just coffee. You're seeing fun photos on the wall, warm colors. You're hearing good music on Spotify. Definitely if I picked it, but some of other people. It's definitely reversed. Everyone hates my music taste. But you feel like you're in this regular cafe, but then you get up to the register and you hear that suggested pricing model that I told you about. And you get to make that choice. Our mission is community and good food for all, regardless of means. And the main whole thing of this cafe, the main reason we do this is to build community. So we use that suggested pricing of bringing all people together, no matter who you are. And we build that community through really, really awesome food.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean that it's such a brilliant model. But I know that I mean, I'm Andrew, when you were young and you said, when I grow up, I'm gonna be blank. It probably was a nonprofit founder. And I have to say quickly, you have picked probably the two hardest industry ever and put them together. You're a special kind of special, Maggie, because running a restaurant in itself is my husband was in the food business, is crazy.
Oh, wow.
And then running a nonprofit, my world, crazy, and you're the two of them. So
Yeah.
so how did you get to this place? Tell us, tell journey of how A Place at the Table came to be.
So I definitely never said out loud, 30 years ago that I wanted to be a nonprofit restaurant founder, right? Those words were not in my vocabulary. I think I wanted to be an astronaut. And I still love space. Like the coolest mug I own is one with like every planet and everything and like different dimensions. And so I love space, but I definitely kissed my dream of of being an astronaut years and years ago. Um, and so one might say that thank you for saying that it's special and amazing. And no, I am I'm just like nuts and bananas. Like I
Takes a
like
special kind of crazy. Leave
special
it
kind
to
of crazy. It is not.
special
It's
kind of.
definitely not for someone who wants like a really really great quality of life and all the free time to travel and sleep, not wake up before 3 a.m. But I really, going back to my first point, I'm so fortunate. I have the best job in the world. I have the best team in the world, and it's not a me thing. It's not Maggie Kane. It is a whole community wide effort. A whole 20 staff, thousands of volunteers that make this happen, and I can get into more of that. But years and years ago, as I said, I grew up in Raleigh and kind of always thought I would leave, honestly. I really hated high school. So if anyone else on this podcast like loved high school, I'm jealous. I was not cool. Made fun of a lot. It was not an ideal time in my life. So I kept thinking, I'm gonna move away. It's time to go. Ended up, I was going away about 3 hours north of here to the mountains for very, very fortunate to go to college. Was gonna go to a school called Appalachian in Boone, North Carolina. But it was negative 2 or 3 degrees, pouring rain the weekend I went up to look, and I told a friend or two like, no way, I will not be
Right.
happy
I'm
here. I
out.
thrive. Like right now in Raleigh, it's 98 degrees. I'm wearing long sleeves, and I have been all day. So I like thrive in warm weather and the
Okay.
sun. And so I ended up going to North Carolina State University, which is in Raleigh, and it was awesome. I'm very thankful to also have gone there. Met great friends, had a great experience, and while I was in school at NC State, I joined clubs just to meet people, and I was a part of a club where I heard this speaker come, and it was a speaker that ran a day shelter. And what a day shelter is for anyone who doesn't know, I had no idea what it was. It's not a shelter where folks on the street sleep. It is a shelter where folks experiencing homelessness, folks who sleep outside, can come in the day so they can have a place to be in this 98-degree weather, get a cup of water, wash their clothes, sit on the couch for a little bit, just have a moment of rest. And
Right.
so I heard the speaker talking about it and I was immediately intrigued. I went to visit and I ended up staying there every single day, working the front desk, chatting with people, getting to know people, and getting to know people who slept outside, who were experiencing
Right.
homelessness. And so I graduated college, and at that point, I still think I'm moving. I'm moving. I'm leaving Raleigh. I am moving abroad. I actually thought I was gonna go live in Italy. I spoke Italian. I thought I was gonna go live in Italy and like marry a very attractive Italian man and be like speak English, like
I think that's a better dream than the astronaut, just saying, but
both are still on the list. That
okay.
the Italian man and wine might be more, better and or more possible. So
Maybe.
yeah, exactly. I ended up graduating, and at my college graduation, several folks experiencing homelessness from the shelter came and sat and cheered me on. And it
Oh,
was in that moment where
oh, Maggie, that's so
I know
beautiful.
it was incredible. It was so cool. And like
That's amazing.
places, you only get like a certain number of tickets. Somehow they got in. Let me just say. And so um, I ended up thinking like I've got to stay here. So kind of created this job, ran the day shelter, ran the operations, and got to know so many more folks on the street. And got to know their stories and their hopes and their dreams, and they got to know mine. And I truly, I mean, they're my friends, and
Right.
I I always thought like, what do you do with your friends? You eat with them, or you get coffee, you get a drink. Food is that tool to bringing people together and getting to know people. And so I
Right.
would eat with folks on the street, and we eat at the soup kitchen. And Raleigh has an amazing soup kitchen that feeds 300 people in an hour. I mean, they are feeding
Wow.
people quickly. And it was in that moment where, I'd be eating with them and I thought, wow, this is so different than my life experience where I can go and eat wherever I want. spend hours, get to know someone, choose what I want to eat.
Right.
And so I just thought like we should go out for other meals and we should, celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, things like that, and really just spend that time together. So we'd go eat in other restaurants, and my friend John changed my life forever when he picked a restaurant in on the East Coast. We have Golden Corral, which is a big buffet restaurant, and they are now like amazing. They're donors of ours and friends and wonderful. But we're at Golden Crown. My friend John, who was staying outside at the time and sleeping outside, I said to him, John, you picked Golden Crown for what, the now third time. And he said, and I said, is it because you're really hungry? You're staying outside? And he said, no, Maggie, it's because here are two reasons. I have choice. I get to choose if I want to order a steak or if I want a salad or if I want a waffle. Living in poverty and living on the streets, people make every choice for me, from what I eat to where I sleep. And the
Wow. Wow.
second is I feel seen and heard here. Living in poverty, living on the streets, people literally step over me. They treat me as
Right.
invisible. Here, I have value. I'm seen. Someone greets me at the door. They come around. They acknowledge me. I'm seen and valued here. And it was in that moment where I said, we've got to do something about this. We have to create a place where everyone, no matter who you are, feels seen and welcome. And also at the time, how cool Raleigh is, there also was this point where, people with money were going one way and people without money were going the other, and there was this divide. So how do we create a place where everyone can come together, everyone
Right.
can see each other, and we can build that community that we all need in life, that belonging that we all desire. I started researching. I found the Pay What You Can system and saw that there were over 15 other Pay What You Can cafes across the country.
Oh, there are?
There
I
are,
didn't know
and
that.
it's through a larger foundation called the One World Everybody Eats Foundation. And started researching and started chatting with some of these other cafes and said, if other places can do this, then Raleigh can too. Went to visit the closest one, which ironically was in Boone. So found myself back where I was gonna go to college and I know, and got to know.
Accidents, Maggie. There are no accidents.
Oh, there are none. I mean, it's
There
been
there are no
amazing.
coincidences.
No, and once you open your eyes, you really see that that's true.
Mhm.
And went to visit the one in Boone, and she's now one of my closest friends. We talk every other day, and we run completely different cafes. But the cool thing is we both share this common model, and we both like it works where we are.
And
Um,
what year was this that you opened a place at the table?
so we started working on it in 2014, and we
Wow.
opened in January of 2018. So it took 4.5 years to really get off the ground and for the community to come behind it. And then we opened January 8th of 2018, and we're going on almost 5 years in a global pandemic. And like, come at us, nothing else can stop us.
So I mean, there's challenges in every business. There's challenges in running an I mean, just the concept of having a business that relies on the kindness of others. You've taken that concept to a much bigger
Well,
level, and the challenges of creating community and bringing community, which is what we really do, which is the gift of nonprofit,
yeah,
is is at the heart of it. And the entrepreneurial piece of it, running a restaurant. I mean, all of those. There's the incredible challenges you have faced in this. Can you share a couple of
absolutely.
the roadblocks that fell on your path along the way?
Absolutely, absolutely. I first and foremost, like anyone running nonprofits, working for nonprofits, anyone running restaurants, working for restaurants, like saints, you're saints, and I commend you and keep going. Because it is just hard work in general.
Right.
I was in the restaurant world, the restaurant space for years and years, have that, that's how I paid through all the things, and it's just how I supported myself. And it's as I said earlier, it is not for like what's that saying, the faint of heart, faint of whatever that
Yes,
is.
yes,
Like
yes, yes.
no way, Jose. It's long hours. It's There's always something that happens. You're always short staffed. So just running a restaurant in general is difficult. Um, but I would say a few things, especially in the early stages. We couldn't find a space. So no one would rent to us because we're this like wacky idea that no one really understands and what does
Well,
it
and I
mean?
don't you think with homelessness, there's a lot of NIMBY, not in my backyard, a lot of
Loitering,
like,
no
oh, we
litter.
love your restaurant, but we don't need those folks
Absolutely.
in our neighborhood.
Absolutely. No, you spot on. Like it's an educational thing and we started treating it as that. Like how can we educate this community around poverty and homelessness? But we, and that's what we faced. I mean, I remember the kindest real estate agent worked with us for 4 years to find a space and I remember him calling places and a landlord actually saying, "No, we don't want those homeless people there." So, and I said back on the phone in speaker, "You mean those people experiencing homelessness?" And
You
so
mean our unhoused
our
neighbors?
on-house friends and neighbors, and so that was really tricky. And at the same time, it's like that chicken and egg where you can't find a space, so you can't start raising money, and
Right.
you can't open a space without money. So so it's just this like 4 years of not fundraising. We always call it, and I stole this from someone. I so wish I knew who, but we call it friend raising.
Yeah.
So for 4 years we friend raised. We really just told the story, made friends. And then when we finally found a space, we were able to call on all those people and we raised the money in 3 or 4 months, like very
Oh,
fortunate.
wow. That's great.
But it's really because we built that trust and we raised friends and we
Right.
got people involved and
You built community.
we
You built
built
the community.
community before we had a physical space and community and brick and mortar. But those were challenges, right? It's like how do you raise money, but also how do you get a space when this concept is so foreign and still is. I mean, people to this day, and still it's complicated and hard because we operate. I know all my financial people out there are thinking, how do I make this work?
Yeah.
Um, 50% of our customers pay the suggested prices or more. 50% of our customers pay less or volunteer for their meal. And so we have to fundraise a lot of money on the outside. But that's a whole nother concept and story. But 50% of our diners pay and pay more. And that is important. Like when we start like going below that number, which happened during the pandemic, um,
Yeah.
I mean, we just have to create that fine balance both for community and our mission, but also for our budget. Um, but it's getting those paying customers to come in our doors and not think we are a soup kitchen. So
Right.
I talk to a lot of groups who are like, but I don't need a meal, so I don't need to come there. No, we want you to come there. We're not a soup kitchen, which again, nothing wrong with soup kitchens.
Right.
We want you to be a part of what we're doing. And so
Right.
that to this day is still a challenge. And then I think the last challenge, and I'll stop talking for a minute for you, but the last an important one is that 4.5 years of really like not giving up. There were many moments where I thought like this is never gonna happen. It's time. All my friends, like I was in my mid 20s, all my friends are getting jobs. Maybe they're getting married, maybe they're, moving, exploring, traveling, all this. And I'm working 3 jobs and trying to
Right.
open up the table. After 4 years, we still don't have a space. So I think that challenge is always important to note because um, I'm so thankful for everyone in this community who kept me going and energized because I would have given up a long time before that.
Well, I think that it's a perfect segue to my next question because I always say, the bucket is heavy. When you start a nonprofit, um, you you have the weight of these beings on your back. And just like another employer who is responsible for his employee families and feels that every night, but not it's a little bit different. Like we go to bed thinking about someone isn't going to eat if I don't do this job. Someone isn't going to get help. Someone isn't going to get educated.
Yeah,
It's not like we're not going to make enough pencils. It's a difference that we have in our bucket that we carry with us, and it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. And when we feel like we can't go on, we're trying to do our own laundry, we're trying to pay our own bills, we're trying to manage our own crazy balance of life, friends and family, and this assuming can never meet the need job. What fuels you when that bucket is so I mean, those 4.5 years that you just kept going, fueled by something. And
yeah.
what is that that makes you keep going when it's so hard?
Like I said, a lot of really good wine, right? Italian wine. No, not at all. That is not what
You're my people, Maggie. I
Yes,
wish you lived closer, sir.
me too. For wine right now. Um, no,
For sure.
yeah, exactly. Good people. And it's people. I'm
Mm.
telling you, the answer to everything in life, in my life, is good people. So for the 4.5 years, it was just at every moment I would turn and I'd meet someone new who reminded me of why I was doing this, or who encouraged me, or who cheered me on, or who sat with me while I cried and said, I'm never gonna, have any of these things. This is never gonna work. um not many people told me that this was never going to happen. Most people, I really think they just thought I was crazy, and they're like, let me see if she can actually do this. But they all encouraged and said, this is a fantastic job and this is what the community needs. So I definitely think
Aw.
people is one. And then I think also, to your point earlier about people aren't going to eat tomorrow, and it's the people that I was meeting that weren't going to eat tomorrow. It was knowing their stories, sitting with them, hearing them. And every single day it's knowing their stories, sitting with them, hearing about their weekend,
Right.
hearing about, telling them about my weekend. It's those relationships that I am able to know every day. I feel like I'm the luckiest person. I said this before, that they have the best job, but I get to be like this secret keeper of so many of these incredible people. I get to hear their past and their today I was talking to this guy Terry who used to work at IBM and two other killer jobs, and he lost everything and got sick and now is sleeping outside at night. But Terry trusts me enough, and I wouldn't tell his information if I knew he wouldn't be okay with it.
Right.
Terry would be all up on this podcast telling his own story. Um, but he truly um trust me that I get to be his friend. So
Right.
it's those, I just got back from this like epic 6 week like sabbatical, which was again so amazing. I have the best team in the world. But when I came back, I can't tell you how many people came up to me and said, Maggie, like, tell me about your trip. Like, we just have this really
Oh.
awesome, authentic community that keeps me going. It's the reason I wake up. It's the reason I do what I do.
Oh, I love that. So everyone always to know, especially donors, but everybody wants to know that they're betting on the right horse. They want to give to an organization that's winning. They want to know your impact. And I always like when I write grants and I going to ask for money, and I'm having to tell all the impact and the stats and all
Yeah.
that, that kind of the return, giving everyone the kind of their ROI. I have a love hate relationship with the word impact, because to
Mhm.
me, impact telling you a story.
Yeah.
That's impact.
Yeah.
Impact isn't we've served this many people, served this many meals but it is impact also. So share some of your successes or what you would define as impact
Yeah.
with
Totally.
with us.
Absolutely. 100% I agree with you. We are definitely on the same wavelength on that. Like, I hate the word impact. I'm always like, and like stats and how many people have you fed? Because it's just so much bigger than that. And I get why they have to do that, especially if
Right.
you fit on the other side, like being the funder. But it's so much bigger than that. So you better believe I always slip in stories. So even if they only give me 100 lines and 100 words in those grants, I'm slipping in scary, right? Because that impact is so much greater, like the relationship base, and just it's the power of relationships is the story we tell. I definitely think numbers are important, and we feed a lot of people at a place to table. We feed anywhere from 100 to 150 people every single day. We see
Wow.
new people coming in the door every single day, learning about what we're doing, getting a meal, paying what they can. So I definitely think that's important, but I also think the community you're building there, the relationships of people who really feel present and welcome, at least with a place at table, are important. And then I think the third thing that, the story we always tell, the impact that we tell, that I know is not a fun thing to hear, is the story of our staff. I truly would believe that we should all be paying our staff above a living wage and making sure that they are treated well, so that then they can treat all of the rest of our folks well. And I think there's this big like misconception, and not misconception is the wrong word, because I think it can be true too, is that like nonprofits don't pay people well. And we are in the nonprofit world.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah. I think they have that reputation for a reason. Interesting,
Yes.
but yeah.
And like they don't pay well, um and you can't put that, you can't ask for funder, you can't ask for operating budget from funders. And I
You
say
can't ask for them to keep the lights on, right? God
and
forbid you pay for electricity, right? Yeah,
and I
I
would
know.
ask that all day, every day, because I would much rather, because the only reason you're able to do what you do is because you have a kick-ass, or sorry,
That-
killer team.
Sorry,
Um,
kids.
but I truly believe that. And so I would rather pay our staff a living wage, health insurance, things like that, where they feel like they're actually able to come to work and survive,
Right, right.
and love this community as well as I do, and be only operating and feeding people for a couple years, because oh yeah, we're feeding our staff too, and that's
Oh my gosh. And do you ever hire your staff, or your staff, does you ever hire your unhoused neighbors?
We definitely do. And we actually have an internship program. Our culinary team, so our executive chef and all of his line cooks and sous chefs are amazing. And every 3 months they work with new folks through an internship program. And so we bring these folks up, and they work through a 3 month culinary internship where they can learn everything there is to learn about being a line cook, anything from chopping an onion to working the line and frying chips and things like
Right.
that. And so then we either hire them at the end of it, or we will help them find a job in another restaurant, like another restaurant partner we have. So that's been awesome. We also do absolutely we're hiring all the time. We're a restaurant, a busy restaurant. So
Right.
we're always accepting resumes, and certainly hire folks out of our community. And it's definitely, we're very fortunate to do that. And I mean,
That's pretty amazing. Okay, so we've heard your dreams about Italian man, Italian wine, and going to space. If you could dream any dream at the table, what does that look like?
any new dream for the table?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, so good, so good. So right now we are starting to think through what is next for table. So we opened in 2018, and we were just like operating this tiny cafe, and we fed like what, maybe 50 to 70 people a day. We thought we were killing it. Then the pandemic hits, and we go to doing from 50 people a day from this tiny cafe to doubling in size. Very fortunate to expand our whole space and get more space, and doing about 400 people a day a free meal. It
Wow.
was wild. It was bananas every single day. And now we're sitting at about 100, 150. We really had to like as nonprofits do, you have to start realizing, like, are you mission creeping? Are you actually doing what you're supposed to be doing? And so we paused for 3 weeks. We expanded our space, and we reopened with, getting back to our original mission of community and good food. And so we got through the pandemic, and now we're starting to dream, which is really, really exciting. So I think first is that we have such a great space of what, and we close at 2, so we're only open from 8 to 2, so breakfast and lunch.
Awesome.
How could we benefit the community in our space after hours? Does that mean, we offer more meals? Does that mean we have after school programs for kids? Does that, affordable after school programs for kids where kids get
Right.
fed, all of
Right.
that?
Right.
Do we, what does that look like? We also want to help other cafes open. So my dream is really to see pay what you can cafes across the country everywhere. And we feel lucky to have, such a support here in Raleigh, and figured out how a pay what you can restaurant can work in a busy downtown setting. So
Right.
we want to help other people open. So we get calls every day from people wanting to open cafes. So what does that look like to actually help them do it? Do we throw funding in? Do we become a training ground for other pay what you can restaurants? So
Oh, wow. Awesome.
that's definitely something we're really excited about. I mentioned it earlier, but like the thought of like maybe like a documentary or a book about a place at the table,
Right.
it's on my list
Or
too.
reality television show. You never know,
It
right? Right.
the best reality, like I am not afraid to say I watch reality TV show or that I watch reality TV. It is like a great pastime of mine. And if if Table, like it is the best reality TV show that could ever happen. One moment you'll be seeing two people hugging and from all different walks of life to like potentially like a coffee cup being thrown against the wall to I don't mean to scare you, but this is real life. And so I have a lot of friends and people who will just come and sit and like work on their computer and just like watch it go down. And but it's also beautiful at the same time and you feel
Right.
so welcome and warm and loved.
Oh,
And so we really could have our own reality.
your own show. There you go. You got to dream big and you've got to put it out there, Maggie.
Yeah,
You've got
I'm
to put
dreaming.
it out.
Yeah.
And I love that. And obviously you are, you can't be an entrepreneur without being a dreamer,
Yeah.
and you can't be without working really hard. And you are obviously all of those things. So what life lessons have you learned on the journey in the, I mean, it's been 2015, so 7 years, I mean 8 years. What have you learned along the way?
So yeah, many, many things. I'll start with like I briefly mentioned this, but like people are everything. Relationships are everything. That I always tell people like lean on people around you for help. People want to help you. They want to help
Right.
you. You just have to ask. And so like people are powerful and relationships are everything. Like life is better when you're in relationships with people, and life is
Yeah.
better when you belong and you make people feel like they belong. And so, relationships are key and are everything. Also, like not being afraid to ask for help, is also that like second point of again, like I just said, people want to help you. You just have to ask.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I think the only reason Table is here is because we asked. And maybe someone said no one time and then they said no again and they said no again, but we asked a fifth time and they said yes. And now 8 years later we asked again and they said yes. So people want to help, people want to feel a part of something. And so not being afraid to ask. I think the third thing is to celebrate everything. I learned very early on, like to celebrate that first, because we're a 501c3 nonprofit, to celebrate that first $5 donation check. And from then on, celebrating every little moment from, again, that $5
Good
donation
for
check
you.
to the 10th person on staff. Um, to now we have 20 people on staff. We've doubled in size. Like just celebrating every little part of the journey because it's more fun that way. And it just,
And it's short. And it's short. We only have so much time here.
time and like without celebration it's again like it's not the same and it's really special when or when I'll use me but when I started to learn to celebrate all those tiny little moments and not just the big wins. And I think the last thing, there's a ton of lessons along the way, but the last thing I learned most recently is um to your point earlier, you said like it doesn't for an entrepreneur, restaurateur, nonprofiter, right? Like it's not easy. And I know, you probably work a lot of hours, and I do. I definitely worked many, 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 many hours. And then I was very fortunate to take a sabbatical. So as I said earlier, I went on a 6 week journey, right, and took some time off. And I learned how important that is. And I learned that rest is everything. I
Everything.
keep asking me. I just got back a few weeks ago, and people keep asking me like, Maggie, what are you doing next? What place the Table doing next? Like, what did you learn on the trail? I went on. What did you learn on the trail? And what I say back is like, I learned to just rest, and I learned that rest for us who are go getters and leaders and entrepreneurs and everyone, but especially folks that work a lot and put it upon themselves to work a lot is like rest and how important that is. And so I totally cleared my mind, and I think now I'm on this like new journey of making sure other nonprofit leaders get to go rest.
I
Um,
think that that's so smart. I always say to my board, look, I'm running a race. I am going full throttle 24/7, and I don't have time to stop, pull over and assess the engine and assess I am on fuel and assess how everything's going, because the race isn't stopping. But
Never
I
will.
have to pull over.
Yeah.
I have to go to the pit, and I have to have time. Otherwise, I don't know where I'm going next, and I won't have the fuel to go forward. But it is something that I think all of us as nonprofit founders really struggle with. And we put everyone ahead of ourselves,
Always.
and to the detriment of ourselves, can't take care of anybody anymore.
Yep.
There's a point where we can't function without that fuel or that rest.
Absolutely. And there will always be something else to do, that you can always fill your time
Right.
with more things. And I can't tell you how many people, when I got back a week and a half ago, how many people said, Maggie, you look phenomenal. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, you're glowing. You look like you actually rested. And I did, and it's true. And
Oh,
so I want that for everyone. I want people to take, and again, I'm lucky. So it might not be 5 or 6 weeks for everyone, but take the time, use
yeah.
your vacation, make your vacation,
Make your vacation.
do something to disconnect. I came back, I took email off my phone. I'm not doing it anymore. I took my smartwatch
Smart.
off my arm. I'm not gonna be,
Wow.
so I like, the brain has to rest, because there will always,
Good for you.
well, and I want that for other people too. And so
Right.
I am now on this. I now, as a nonprofit leader and executive director and founder, our board last night passed a policy that anyone on staff for 5 years will get 6 weeks off of paid.
Oh,
So
bravo.
I encourage other leaders to start looking at that, because that's definitely something that we are all, if we're fortunate enough to be able to do it, we should.
100%. You changed since all of this started, or do you think that you're the same person as you were?
I have grown. Um, yeah, I had no idea what I was doing back then, but I guess who does?
But
I don't
nobody
know.
does. That's the person I have ever spoke to, and I have interviewed hundreds of nonprofit founders, has ever said they knew what they were doing.
No one.
Something happened and their life took a total U-turn, and they had no clue where they were going or how they're going to get there, but they all did.
And
And look
don't
at
you
you.
kind of like still like feel like you don't know what you're doing, and
No,
like
because
there's like imposter syndrome?
everyone has imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And we all have it. We all have it. But somehow we're like, well, fig it you make. I guess I'll just do that. That sounds good. And you get there, right?
You
And you get
and
there.
you get there, and you get there. And so yes, 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 to answer your question, like I definitely still feel the same way I did 10 years ago, when I like had no idea what I was doing, and I had imposter syndrome, and I was thinking like, wow, are people going to figure out that I have no idea what I'm doing? But I have definitely grown, and just felt more confident in this work, and just felt more love in this work than I've ever felt.
Oh,
And just felt like I truly 100% know my purpose in life, and I will continue doing that until the day I die. So I think just way more confident in that fact, and like accepting that I actually, and y'all all who are listening, you are an expert. You are an expert in your field. Yes, I cannot tell you about every planet and like, know, solar thing there is, and I'm not an expert in that, but we are experts in the work we do, and to own that and be confident in it. And so I
Amen.
definitely am grateful.
And well, I cannot tell you how much I love learning about this. Tell us, and you are a Spitfire, and now a rested Spitfire, but still a Spitfire. And we want to know how we can support you, how we can get involved, where we can find you on social media, we can follow you, how we can
Absolutely.
come visit when we're traveling
Yes.
to Fabulous Valley, which I highly recommend. Everyone. It's a
Come on.
great city.
Come see us. Come see us. We're in downtown Raleigh. A place at the table. It's 300 West Hargett Street. You can see that on our, Instagram, website, all of that. But I'm telling you, our food is really good. So you don't just have to come because we're a cool little warm cafe. But the food is really good, and it's like the best cinnamon roll and
And
um,
tell us your website.
chicken sandwich. So our website is tableraleigh.org.
Hmm.
And then our Instagram is Table Raleigh. Facebook is a place at the Table Raleigh. Follow us. We just hit 20K. I'm trying to get to 21. So let's go.
Rock on.
Let's get all the likes. No, it's but definitely come and see us. Check out on our Instagram and website. You can see all of our food and food and people.
Well, I cannot tell you how much I have enjoyed the conversation. I'm actually glad we waited until your vacation to and when I think about nonprofit and I think about the work we do, I think about community, I think about love, about food, but you have really brought all of those together in such a beautiful way. And I've just been such a thrill to share your story and your incredible spirit and work with our audience. So thank you, Maggie. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been so fun chatting with you and just getting to know you too. I want to hear all about your nonprofit too. And so,
Well, I'm going to come and drink wine with you in Raleigh next time I'm there. I promise you I am.
We have a wine bar across the street, so we can eat.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Charity Matters podcast. I really enjoyed talking to our guest, Maggie Kane, about what it takes to start a business that truly changes people's lives. I think Maggie's comment about the importance of people, relationships, and belonging was so inspiring and true. To learn more about modern day heroes like Maggie, or if you'd like to reach out to us, visit us at charity-matters.com or connect with us on Instagram at Charity Matters. If you enjoyed our conversation, we would love it if you shared it with your friends and family. And please don't forget to leave us a review and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Remember, together we can make a difference, one small act of kindness at a time. Charity matters.